Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ravi. Following after Kumar is like, an indie band playing after Coldplay. I have to do a really good job because he's so clear, articulate, and he's so wise because of multiple companies that he has run. I am a first-time entrepreneur, and it's funny that I'm talking about VPC. We just did our VPC for the third time a couple of weeks back, I have my colleague Priyashri and Tanisha, and I asked them to come because we did it together. A lot of you are founders here, but if some of you are operators, right? So some of my operators are with in your audience today. Can you raise your hand, please, both of you? So maybe you may also want to talk to them because these are the people who were kind of executing that along with me. Uh, uh, it's also very interesting moment because they are our investors. This was my first company, right? And this is the company where my partner started her B2B SaaS career. Like very interesting, bittersweet moment for me to come here and talk to you. Before I start, I would just like to tell you is that you hear a lot of these talks, and I'm also mostly on that side. Okay, so I thought we'll talk about it that. Either you have won a few customers, but you can't describe your ICP clearly, which he has explained. I think these are most of us here. You're doing some custom work for every new customer, and you don't know which customers to say no to. So, quick story. When we got to $1 million last year, right, we got a customer, a unicorn, who was paying us near about 200K. Now imagine, India 200K, my investors were very happy, right? And the first thing I did was build my enterprise calculator, right? I went and spoke to the CMO of that person in Boy. He was from IIT Bombay. He took me for a walk. This is where I studied and I was very happy. Great things are happening to me. And we then started to think about that we'll onboard that customer. When the customer onboarded, paid, and they said that they have some custom work to be done. Now that was 4 months of tech work. And me and my co-founder were like putting our heads together and we thought it's 200K deal, let's go ahead. And we started to build a lot of those things, right? I remember we went for our offsite and we celebrated that finally we could do $1 million with a 200K customer in India. There are so many unicorns, we closed so many unicorns. Now, you know that the story is not going to end well, right? So 1 year down the line, this customer has raised debt. They have churned, of course, right? And what we have decided that we are not going to sell to EdTech. So we killed an ICP after 200K, 4 months of tech work, and that got churned. And that was our first month we had a negative MRR growth. So, he mentioned 15% MRR growth in Pentathlon portfolio. So we were like kind of in that category. And that was the first month that we had a negative growth because of 200K churn that gone down, which we were not able to do that. So the reason I'm giving that example is that and I was asking myself this question that why do founders who are so smart don't get it right? And the reason we don't get it right for the first time is that we have a very huge builder's bias. We want to build things, right? And it probably comes from maybe a deep-rooted thing of engineer's bias because we are engineers, so we like to build and like to code and like to build things, right? I think the second thing is also that we are always getting pushed by people. Either we are getting pushed by investors, the competition, we are getting pushed by time, our own age. We need to do things faster. So this is a patient exercise. This is a marketing exercise, right? So we go and do sales first. And I think there is nothing wrong and right in that, but then we really need to understand that why do we get it wrong, right at the start. So we are always kind of racing against time, definitely. And second is that we have a builder's bias. And third is that we are not attuned to thinking long term. He spoke about long term and short term. We just want short term gratification that quarter, this, that, and so on and so forth. And I think the founder needs to have a very long term view and short term view, and he needs to have both. Quickly about me, so I thought of just talking about my journey. So I started with HSBC, learned data science models there for primarily 5 years. I was in London working in the investment banking side. That was my core job. Then I went to a very interesting company called Mindical. I was the first product manager there. And I played multiple roles, but we had a very amazing time in the first few years where we really cracked enterprise GTM. And then, I'm also associated with SaaS Boomi. We do a lot of activities to evangelize and pay it forward. And these are some of the people who have trusted me with their money. The problem with money is that you have to return it back. So that's the thing about it. So Pentathlon, on deck, it's a US-based fund, Sprout. So we have close to raise, we are about $3.5 million till date, and we operate in a mid-market segment. And again, as a co-founder and CEO of ExtraaEdge, learning to build the org is what I do on a regular basis. Now, about the bit of ExtraaEdge, we help education brands get to product market fit. So we are basically a sales software built for education institutes, which categorizes from right from university, coaching, test prep, vocational skilling. It's a $23 billion spend market. After real estate, retail, and e-commerce, education spends the most amount of money. So we are just trying to solve that to make this process more efficient for them. Now, before I start, I thought of starting with this. I really love this quote a lot, like that. Whatever we tell you, right? Please understand that we have a context and intention, and you will. Every advice is a good advice only when it works for you. Otherwise, that advice is not good. So we are going to give you some kind of framework to think about things. But then, often than not, I have found that a good plan is a plan that works. So if it works for you, then our job is well done. If it does not, then probably we have not done a good job. So always contextualize, like, and like there's an old saying that the territory is not the map. So what has worked for me might not work for you. Often not might not work for you. But the few things that I will try to do and what Kumar has tried to do, we'll try to give you more frameworks with examples to think about it. So that is the kind of objective, and this is few things that I would like to cover today. So why value prop? What is value prop? How to use it, and build a value prop canvas, and in action show and tell. I will, while I was thinking about it, talking to Saurabh about how to design this better. Right? This is an empirical exercise. Like it's playing cricket, right? I can't talk to you about cricket. We both have to go and play cricket. So I have taken a very simple example to tell you that how does building a value prop canvas looks like. So we are going to probably build a value prop canvas together. Because I think then the immersion will be more and we'll be able to relate to it. So I thought of taking my own company's example, but you don't care about my company, right? So I have taken a very simple consumer example that we all can relate to it. So probably we'll spend some time there and build this canvas together. The best way to do this is that you could all have had a paper and post-it notes, and you could have all built a canvas together. So that could have been a good exercise to do. But that's what we do at SaaS Book. We do this exercise where you go out from this room after you have built your PPC. But that's a whole day exercise. But we don't have the luxury of time. So we'll see the example. So yeah, my team has created a very innovative solution, but we are still looking for a problem to go with. Again, he said that. So you'll see a lot of cartoons. So I like Dilbert and these things. So I'll kind of put it. So this is exactly how we kind of think about building things like that. And the most important thing that we really want is that we want this, right? So I really love this metaphor of love. I think this is the emotion that we all understand. And we say that we want customers to be happy. I say we would want customers to love us because it's very easy to transfer love to money, right? Because people don't think about that money in that way. They like us or they really are happy. Happy to money is difficult, but love to money is very easy. So how can you make sure that they fall in love with you being your product, your services, and that love will drive you charging more and so on and so forth because people do crazy things in love, right? So how can you get there? And there is a very different, and it's not easy, right? That it's difficult, and what we have also learned that you go through multiple iterations to get here. And Kumar was talking about the problems that mostly startups face and why they fail. I think I just read somewhere and brought it down that one of the reasons why companies are not able to see the light of the day over a period of time is basically that they build something that nobody wants, and they end up in that kind of space where they are on a suicide mission and they are going to kill themselves. So what somebody was asking about competition. So startups in the initial days died from suicide, not from homicide. They kill themselves. Nobody else kills them because nobody cares about them because they're not big in the first place. So your own mistakes will kill you. And one of the reasons it will kill you and sure short recipe of getting killed is that you have not figured out your ICP and BPC. So imagine you are driving right with blinders and with probably one eye not working. So probably you will end up banging your car anyways. It's just a matter of time. So it's very, very important that we learn and we identify that, and it becomes very, very relevant and important because it wastes a lot of time, resources, unproductivity, uncommon language. So my core skill set is of a coder, of a programmer. So I don't write code now, but I used to write code for 7 years. So if any one of you here write code, right, you understand how difficult it is to rewrite code. And just an example, just think about it, how difficult it is to scrap code and write again code. I mean, like, it's a nightmare, right? And the first thing you will curse is the guy who's asking you to rewrite it. So you will look up and generally that guy is a founder who's a sales guy, or probably he's a marketer. And then you will look him with disdain that this guy doesn't even know how to code. And then he's asking you to change all the work that he did, right? So, but then, you need to kind of reduce the space. And that's why this theory of, go outside the, door, talk to your customer comes. The reason it comes with the fact is that tech debt is the most expensive debt for any company. And most of the times, a lot of founders are not hands-on engineers and coders themselves. So they also are not able to appreciate that why this debt will be kind of biting them over a period of time, because they are optimizing for revenue. And this in itself becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy of you failing. So it's very, very important to understand that time and resources and code will really kind of kill you. And the challenge is to also know that who you are going to sell to. And what we all need to do is that we need a better approach for creating value for our customers and lowering risk of failure. And in this case, failure is not a failure like you failed in an exam. Failure is existential, you will shut down, right? And we don't want to be there. So how do we kind of think about this? And one of the most important things that Kumar said again and again is repeatability. What I'm going to talk about are these couple of things in your entire journey of your value creation. So let's kind of think about our company building as a design process. So we are designing our companies to win, and we are designing our customers to love us. So how does that design process look like? So you start with hypothesis, then you prioritize, design, prioritize, run, capture, make progress, right? So what me and Kumar are talking about are the first two blocks here, which is basically extracting hypothesis, starting with it, and then prioritizing them to build an MVP, or starting to use your engineering resources after that, right? So we will talk about it. And the classical mistake, and this is my common theme that I keep talking about, is that generally we take this approach. We take a product inspired innovation approach where your value map is kind of not driven by your customer profile, right? So when I say value map, that you have built the antibiotic or vitamin and then you're going in the market for selling it. So just imagine Wockhardt and Cipla, who spend probably 80% of their entire expense in R&D, scrap their R&D and say that we know what the world wants and start to manufacture drugs. Right? What a world that will be, right? But they don't do that. So this is exactly how we build generally our companies, right? What we need to start thinking about and doing that is that we need to move the other direction. How can our customer profile start to guide what our value will be, right? And this is the most important and underlying theme where I'll keep on talking about after the repeatability theme, that how can we move other way around. And this will only happen when you as a founder, okay, start believing that you know everything. Because if you've sold some of the logos, some customers start to believe you know things, okay. I can tell you very, very honestly, and somebody was talking about Chris, and Chris is a unicorn founder. Chris is one of our angel investors. And when I talk to Chris on a regular basis, every month once, he says that I don't know 8 out of 10 times what I'm doing. Okay, and I think that's for most of the people. Most of us don't know what we are doing most of the times. If we have some hypothesis and we say that, so flexibility and allowing to do this exercise again and again is very, very important, because market also keeps on changing. Now after COVID, education is not the market that it used to be. So you have to again go back to your storyboard and do your value proposition canvas. You have to do your ICP. Good founders, really good successful unicorn founders who I interact once in a while, they say that you need to do this every quarter. You need to go back, at least you need to do your VPC every quarter by default, and ICP maybe 2 or 3 times in a year. You should definitely go and look at it, because if you have an enterprise motion there. So this is kind of what primarily I'll be kind of talking about. And now there's a very famous picture I think most of you have seen, like in comics, right? That what the customer told us and finally what we built for them. So this is what the client explained we want, and this is what the client got finally, right? So they wanted a swing, they got a tie. So this is exactly what starts to happen over a period of time, that you have the narrative that my team has created a very innovative solution and we know that it's the best thing spread, and then you kind of go after that. And the problem happens is that you have not done a very kind of marriage between the whole thing. And just to simplify for some of you, value prop, what it means is basically it describes the benefit customer can expect from your product and service. So it's a beautiful dance between your product's value prop for your customer, which needs to come from customer side, not from your side, through customer interviews and so on and so forth. So this is very, very important. You only ask people questions when you know that you don't know the answer. So don't start, and a lot of times when we go in customer interviews, we ask rhetorical questions. So instead of asking is what does your day generally look like, we ask them the question that, are you having some problem with with Salesforce? Right? I think that's a very bad question, because then you are kind of priming them to answer that question rather than asking them a very kind of a smart question that what does your day looks like, what are the problems you are having, what are the top 3 challenges you are having in your job, and so on and so forth. Very good question that I came across. One of our founders is that he used to ask that, when do you generally get promoted? What will happen in your job that you'll get promoted? And then he starts to talk about that his last promotion and things like that, and then you know what his personal motivation is, as Kumar rightly pointed out. Now, in the scheme of things of thinking about the value prop canvas, there is a very good book, and these guys have created this whole framework strategizer. I have also put a link and I'll share this with you guys. Very highly recommended read. So this is what basically it is, right? On the left hand side, you have the value map. What are the value that you will drive for your customer, and on the right hand side is your ICP, which Kumar talked about. So if I have to marry ICP with VPC, this is your ICP, this is your VPC, and they will kind of do a tango with each other. And if any one of you have done what we call business model canvas, which is like a whole blueprint of the company, right? So the guy who created this, Alex Osterwald, he says that the first thing that you should do, the first thing you should do is you should do this. So you should look at that and that. So it's not me and Kumar saying, it's Alex Osterwald said probably many years back, and Steve Blank backed it that do this first, right? And often than not, we probably go mostly in the solution space and so on and so forth. So value prop and customer segment in ICP are the first step to start this entire journey, right? And and that's how you kind of move forward. So with that being said, that so I found this joke very interesting, that I think we should build an SQL database. And so the guy said that he understands what he said, or it's something he saw in an ad, and then he says that what color do you want that database, right? So it's like a joke intended to the fact that if you start with your own hypothesis, with customer not being there, you start to go in a trap, which is like derailing you for good, right? And it's very important that the customers become the center point of customers' conversation, not a room full of engineers and product managers and the founder. Often than not, I've found that the biggest culprit in not doing ICP and VPC is unfortunately the founder. Because the founder, when in a room, the founder is generally an alpha figure, like be it a male or a female. And when he says something very prominently in a room, then everybody believes it, right? And you better believe that. So the founder needs to go back and step back and say that we need to really look at it again, right? And we need to redo it again. So with that being said, this is what my job today here is, that I'll try to tell you that how do you do this fitment? Once you go by Kumar, you have done your ICP, how do you do this fitment, and how do you do this tango very, very well, where your characteristics, observation, verification, and assumptions are kind of married to the benefit that you design to attract your customer. Now, you see that as we don't get it right, our competitors also won't get it right. So now you imagine that you are in a race where initially both the people who are competing will start bad. That's a fact, right? Nobody's intelligent from day one. What it means is that who will pick up the pace during the race and accelerate will become, the competitive advantage. And there's a theory called that you don't have a first, generally you don't have a first movers advantage, you have what we call last movers, learnings, which Peter Thiel says is 0 to 1. Who's the last guy who has understood learnings from the past, mistakes from the past, the companies who have been buried probably in the startup graveland and who have understood what works and what does not work and who can optimize to win. That's the company who wins at the end of the day, right? So Google was never the first search engine, right? There were so many search engines before that. So this is what kind of we try to do, and generally this exercise what we do is make of some components. So as Kumar mentioned, is that in the customer profile, if you look at it, right, customer wants some of the pains, some of the gains, and some of the jobs to be done, right? So customer has some kind of pain in their life, which we need to figure it out. Now that pain, may lead to some of the when you alleviate that pain, it may lead to some of the gains. Now there could be a thing that these pains and gains have nothing related to each other also at times. And I'll give you my example that I have with me, right? So the customer has some pains, they feel gain when something happens, and they have some jobs to be done. You need to do something for them, right? A very good example is that if I'm a person in Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi, my job is call a taxi or get a taxi. Right? Get a taxi is a job. The pain is that not getting taxi and not reaching on time. So missing the deadline of getting there is a pain that I have. What is the gain? Comes a Uber, Ola, or a blue shift, I get it easily. I go ahead and I make a cashless payment. That's a gain that I have at the end of the day. Right? So some of the jobs could be call a taxi. Another could be that making cashless payment. Can be another job. Third could be a pleasant experience during that travel. Another could be hygiene in the taxi, and the fourth probably could be that almost negligible waiting time. Right? That's one of the jobs to be done for the product. Maybe it's more of a game, and the pain will be waiting in rains for 1 hour, missing my deadline, and probably not being reaching on time. So that's a big pain for me. And probably today in Delhi there is a pain because I think Gurgaon is related. So very good example, where we think about a customer profile and everything, and from the other side, now start to look at maybe a Uber or a Ola or a Blue Shift, right? Then they have an ability to get you that ride very very quickly through OTP and whatnot. They have cashless payments, and they have ability to for us to track if there's a woman traveling at 12 o'clock in the night, she will share her location with her partner that she's safe and she's reaching on time. I just recently saw a feature where I booked a Uber for somebody night in Bangalore, and the Uber was stationary for 5 minutes, and I got a notification that your Uber is stationary. It's not moving. So I quickly checked, and then I found there was a traffic there for one of my friends. So these are some of the features that you build, right? So I hope you guys are getting right. And now the interesting bit is that what do you build first? Should you build a navigation first? Should you build route optimization first? Should you build safety first? That depends on who you are building for. And that's where the point comes. Who do you are building initially in your first few years will define what features get built first, right? And that's the whole idea of bringing this whole thing together and kind of building it out. The way to do it is that for you to sit with your marketing team and with your co-founders, if you both are marketing team right now in sales, and kind of do that. So you download this canvas, you grab a set of sticky small notes, and you start writing it out. Now, while you are writing it out, generally it's good to speak to some of your prospects or your existing customer and ask some of the questions and so on and so forth, so that you have some of the hypotheses laid out to it. So in case of this person who's about to take a cab, I will go and probably arbitrarily talk to the 20 people I see on probably Indira Gandhi International Airport in the business launch, and that I want to take a survey about your traveling needs and what are your core pains, what does work for you, what does a wow experience in taxi looks like, what does a shitty experience in taxi looks like, right? Which app do you use right now? Do you use Ola or Uber both? Do you have both the apps on your phone, or you have one or the other? What do you prefer by default? Do you prefer one or the other? Does it change when you go to Goa? Because Goa does not have Uber and Ola, so there's Goa miles there. When do you use Goa miles? So these are the kind of questions I'll start to frame and ask in order to kind of do this. So this is what the promise that you guys made. You remember you made a promise to me. You'll go and do this in the first 30 days. This exercise with your own team. So generally, sort of we do this exercise together, and I think that's best learned. So what I did is that I have picked up a small example and created that example for you, and we could go ahead and do that. Now, a couple of slides which Kumar covered that. First of all, in order to do this exercise, we have to choose a customer segment. And and we have to use a buyer. So I have taken the liberty of choosing that buyer for you, right? And after you choose the buyer, you need to also identify that what are the characteristics of the buyer. So there could be many characteristics, but generally they're categorized into demographic, geography, behavioral, psychographic, and so on and so forth. So, things like that, you start to write who's your customer, what does he want, what does a good day in his life look like, and so on and so forth. And then you kind of sit and do those exercises on a regular basis. So, with that kind of being said, what I thought is that I will take a small example to show you, and again, uh, you know, uh, so yeah, this happens generally in a team that our goal is to ship $1 million. Do we have any goals that involve making customers happy? So I'm talking about your goals, not their goals, totally different. So this is how two teams work with each other generally on a regular basis. That this is engineering goal, this is sales goal, this is marketing goal. Delivery to a बात भी नहीं कर रहा है. So there's an implementation who's going to deliver it. So all are kind of, and I have seen this dysfunction in my own company, and the root cause of dysfunction generally the founder thinks is the people. They don't understand. I think it's not the correct answer. The dysfunction is your dysfunctional understanding of your own customers. Now that get transferred into all these second and third order effects, which kind of percolate in the entire team, right? Because everybody has a different understanding of who the customer is, and they are kind of chasing those kind of goals and do it. And unfortunately, people read a lot of things online on social media and and your story and whatnot. So they have their own concordant understanding of how this company should be built, right? And generally, people think they know better than the founders also. I mean, in the first place, founders does not know what needs to be done. So how they will know? So this happens in a confused state, and then you have literally a dysfunctional team who's fighting with each other, right? So the way to solve is that go back to the story goal, do this properly, and do this very, very, kind of objectively, without any kind of prior biases. And that's why one of the questions that one of the gentlemen asked is that how do we make that list of 50 accounts, right? Sit with your marketing team. So in our case, we are about to kind of get to $2 million in ARR. That's a target, right? So me and Priyachi, we sat and we started to look at our existing 240 customers. What is their behavior? How do we characterize them? And we did that entire exercise. We got a tool which is like a very, very heavy AI research tool on LinkedIn, right? And we kind of profile all our customer to even do that bare bone thing, that whatever they have done on LinkedIn, so what does it signify about their behavior, characteristics, writing style, reading style, and so on and so forth. So we go ahead and probably when we speak to her, she can share you what we did and how we did that. It was a very powerful tool where we got maybe more than 30, 40 data points. And then what we are saying is that how should we write an email now to our customer? How should we do an ad copy to the customer? Do we really need to change our website to the customer? Because your sales guy is writing the same email to everyone, right? But then once you get your ICP right and value right, then you will start writing different emails for different customer cohorts in this case, right? So, and for this audience, what I've taken a very simple example of, we'll kind of talk about that. There is a taxi passenger in one of the locations in India. This passenger needs to take a taxi and go from point A to point B. You all with me, right? That's a problem. So now, before we do that, we really need to understand who are we solving for. Are we solving for a startup founder? Are we solving for a corporate guy? Are we solving for kind of a salaried employee in a multinational company, or are we solving for a businessman? So for that, I have taken a very simple example, and it's always good to take a good example, right? So, and it's also good to name your persona very, very well. So I've taken ambitious Naina. Now she's Naina Lalkitwari. She used to be a CEO. So she is in the age group of 30 to 55, lives in Delhi NCR, and I'll talk about why to pick Delhi for a particular reason. Her job is she's a working experienced woman, travels business class. She is into consulting, sales, marketing, salary bracket 15 to 50 lakhs. Preference, comfort, convenience, safety, likes punctuality, time conscious, hygiene, affordability, can spend on the value versus preference, right? So this is one of the other things that you will end up doing, because there is a ICP, but there is a human involved whom I talked about, right? That person, the buyer needs to win, right? He's your buyer. they will buy the product. And often not, what you see that in a company, the buyer and the user also are different at times, right? So you really need to define that who's the buyer. So for our taxi app that we're going to talk about, which we'll all build together, right now. So we'll all build it together. So imagine that we have this big, hairy, audacious goal that we are going to build a taxi app with Uber and Ola being there. Guess what? There's a company called Blue Smart is doing that, right? So, and that guy has the audacity to do that. Yeah. 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 Yes. Yes. So he said enterprise selling is painful, but enterprise selling is rewarding. So you have to build separate to it. I would say don't kind of overburden yourself to do it all in one. Start with one, and kind of involve your team members so that they could also do it. Don't do it in isolation. It's a group exercise that needs to be done. A lot of discussions will happen and so on and so forth. But yes, you need to map what we call mapping the stakeholders. You need to map the stakeholders and create a persona definitely for them. Yeah. Okay, guys. So now we need to do this together. For that, I need your complete attention. So all of you, I know it's a long session, but if you don't pay attention to this, I think you'll miss the part of how to do it, because there are very small nuances that will populate from your sales team, marketing team to back to the guy who's writing the code and designing the app, right? So kind of I'll take you very, very slowly and probably even ask me questions also. So if you have to design that, right? So what is Naina trying to get done? If you think about it, right? So Naina is trying to get done these few things. She wants to call a taxi. So first of all, calling a taxi, right? You have to call or press a button of booking, but she also needs to find a taxi. She has to give directions and she has to pay. These are jobs that needs to be done. Now, a good job is a job which is very simple. It cannot be further broken down. It needs to be very intuitive. It needs to be very simple. And because these jobs are going to become the H1 headline of your website. Right? When you write something on your website, right? What would you write? You write this only. And I'll talk to you about that, how that email copy, your website copy, your ad copy, all will become that. Do you write in your ad copy, get the cab faster, or you write reach home safely to your loved ones? What do you write? Do you write pay cashlessly, or do you write that pay safely without touch? Are you guys with me what I'm saying, right? Often than not, we write the former, not the later, because we don't do this, right? And we think this is what needs to be written, we write. And we generally see the competition and then also we copy them, like you said. It should be the other way around. The competition should be copying you, not you should be copying your competition, right? So these are jobs that need to be done. And jobs kind of come out after customer conversations, right? And we have probably need to do another session on how to do a good customer interview in the first place, because that's in itself a very art, and I have seen that. I think we are extremely poor in doing that, because we want to hear what we want to hear. So there's a lot of biases in how you ask questions. We are always taught to give answers, not ask questions in India, unfortunately. Okay, so now as we move to it, let's look at Naina's pain points. I think the biggest pain point in Naina in Delhi is, guess what? Unsafe driver. That's why I picked Delhi. Delhi is unfortunately notorious for many reasons, right? So for her, the most important thing, remember that she is probably earning 50 lakh to a crore, right? For her, she cannot fly on a jet from Indira Gandhi Airport to probably Kuala. She has to take a cab, no option. And probably somebody from her home are not going to come to the airport now, right? So her biggest problem is unsafe driver, followed by, she has to also compete with other customers. So wait time. So there are 10 Nainas who are all looking for a cab, and she needs to get a cab. So everybody is vying for the same cabs, and there is limited cab available in the market, right? Then waiting a long time. Now we saw that she's a business professional, travels business class. Perhaps she has gone down to Delhi to probably go to her home in night, and generally, international flights are in night time only. So she needs to get down home because she has an early morning meeting. So for her, waiting time cannot be long. It's probably very, very difficult. And then finally, overcharging. So even if you're paid more, you don't like to be cheated, right? It's like a very common phenomenon. It's more of a morality question than propensity to pay question. I don't want people to cheat me, right? Even if I'm a millionaire, right? And also we have an ability to negotiate as Indians, right? So these are some of the pains that I generally have when I take a cab. Are you all guys with me? Is this useful doing this like this, right? Okay. Is there a question there? No. So let's quickly move to the third part, right? So what are the gains? So gains are fair price, easy payment, arrive on time, and a professional experience. Fair, right? So we are designing a new taxi app, audacious that we all are, against Ola and Uber and other ones. And then this is what Naina's pain, gain, and jobs look like. Yes. Good. We'll come to that. Thank you. Somebody pointed that out. It was intentionally done. Right? I'll tell you why I did that. I'll cover that. So we will kind of deprioritize and prioritize some of those things. Okay. Now, you see, I have not even hired an engineer till date. So imagine that I'm building this company, right? The first thing we do is start hiring engineers. I have not had any engineer. This is two founder and I heard one of the really good founders who sold his last SaaS company. He was asked a question that who's the first guy you should hire? Do you guys want to take a guess that? So Vijay from Minjar, he sold Minjar to App Dynamics and started Atomic Works, and a very successful, smart SaaS founder. Exited his last company and probably around $70 million exit. And he was asked this question that who's the first guy that you have hired in Atomic Works? Can somebody guess the name? What would be that position? It's very broad, marketing and sales. Marketing key skills are both, right? So, who would you hire? What would be the position? It's a very sharp position. Anybody else who want to take a guess? Designer, okay. So he was there. He went there in that session. Okay. So Tanmay was there with me, right? And exactly, he said the first, and I think the question, somebody asked him the question, right? And he said the first guy I will always hire is a product marketer. Because what do we write on our sales deck? What do we write on our website? What do we write on our tagline or a card? What do we write on our ad copy? Or what do we write on a mail that we are sending will kind of originate from here itself, right? And the product marketer will, and the founder is the first product marketer, but the founder is a shitty product marketer, right? So he needs reinforcement from somebody else to write. Albeit you are like a very smart digital marketer like probably Amit, right? And Amit probably is an outlier, he's not a norm, right? Mostly we don't understand marketing, we come from engineering or heavy sciences or computer sciences, or we come from sales backgrounds. So this is predominantly, if you think about it, a marketing exercise, right? A marketing research exercise. And so we really need to kind of get that into perspective. So with that said, while we think about it, then we then need to start prioritizing. So you asked me this question that which of these pains and gains are important and not important. So I have dropped unsafe for a reason that I think it's not important. Maybe for some reason we'll talk about it, right? So you need to start to stack rank. What are you going to build first? And it will come from the fact of customer conversations, because imagine that you are a two co-founder, not raised any money. Probably you are bootstrapping and putting your own money. You are probably moonlighting in some other job, like we all do, and you are trying to build a company. So money तो है नहीं, and then engineering आता नहीं है, hire कर नहीं सकते हैं क्योंकि पैसा नहीं है, right? Because it will come at a larger cost. So you are in that very difficult place where you can't code because you have to sell, and even if you can code, right, you have to sell or talk to customers. You have not raised money, so you can't hire, right? And then you are also moonlighting and so on and so forth. And we find ourselves in this situation so many times, right? So we have to very ruthlessly say that some of the things will be get done first, and some of the things not get done first. And now to Tanisha's point, here will come competitive advantage. What I'm going to choose that is not available for a Ola and Uber today. This is how I'll start to prioritize. Because you see, this problem is not the unique problem. This is a very common problem. People are solving it. And as Kumar said that there are incumbents already. If there is no incumbent, then there is a habit that is an incumbent for us. We have to break that habit, right? So that will, this is where beautifully competitive advantage kind of very clearly seeps in and starts to help you prioritize. You will ask this question that how can I be better 10x than probably an Uber or a Ola? And that's exactly what Blue Smart has done. What Blue Smart says that no, we are not only green, right? But we are also very hygienic and safe for you, and we are very courteous. We'll give you a great experience in the cab. And if some of you have taken, you will see that the experience is very, very great of Blue Smart, the whole experience of getting the cabs there. So that's how you start to rank them. Now this ranking is very, very important because that saves you from tech debt. You will not end up building things that probably nobody will care about. And it's always good to start to build with something which is very unique. It catches and it's kind of differentiated in that way. Very tough, but this is the right point to start having that conversation about differentiation. Now, while you kind of are doing that, then you kind of start ranking them. So I have kind of ranked them in some order of priority that for me, calling a taxi, arriving on time, time is very, very important for Naina. The most important thing for Naina is that time. Even if the driver is a bit like not great and hygienic, but I need to reach there fast. Time is the most important common denominator for this business class person because she needs to reach there fast. So calling, waiting, and arriving is the most important thing, followed by some of the other things, like and so on and so forth. And again, this is a fictional example. We could probably do it very sharply for our own companies, right? So while we have done that, right, then we need to move to the other side too. So, I mean, that's very obvious that we are building a taxi smartphone app. We could also say we are not building an app, you can only book on the website, for example, to start with, right? And a lot of companies also do that. They start with a website, then move to mobile, right, in this case. So if you guys remember that there was an e-commerce company who used to sell online, I don't remember the name, they one day published on a newspaper that we'll stop selling on the website, only sell on the app, and so on and so forth. Mintra, right? Yeah, right. So then you kind of start buying them, and very quickly I'll take you through the exercise. So then you kind of now you start to think. Here's where the product manager comes into picture, and the product manager starts to think about that. What do we need to solve for? So we need to solve for a cost system. We need to solve for us, kind of route optimization and assigning a driver because right driver needs to assign who's in the vicinity of the location. We need to also solve for instant booking. So on the app, the experience should not be more than 2 clicks. It's like 1 click and you book right now. It should not revolve, or you should not confuse the owner who's probably anyways getting delayed and irritated. And then you need to also solve for no cash. So how do you kind of easily solve for integration with a GPay or a phone pay, or you have better a wallet through which you could just quickly make a payment from postpaid, or in our case, we never even put that because we have a corporate account and 10K is already there, right? So and we can do that. So that's the benefit of raising some money, that at least you are not using your own credit card, thanks to people like Saul, right? So that's kind of you kind of look at, these are some of the vitamins that you need to antibiotics that you need to have in your product, right? And then you slowly start to also map these with these, that no cash is basically pay, overcharging, fair price. So you are now mapping them. So my website copy will be that we help women traveling who want to reach on time, faster, safer, and better. Only available in Delhi NCR. Now this is my first landing page copy. Right? Very, very sharp, and I will only target it on my Google AdWords and Facebook to only women. Think about it, right? Generally, I just target it and anybody who will come and book. No, I only want women to book that cab who are at that particular class, and I can use Facebook and Google to do very, very extensive targeting to go there and kind of solve for it. And then, that's where your pain reliever will start to come in. And so gain creators, so those are gain creators. So this is like the gain, those are gain creators. So what are gain creators? A professional driver is definitely a gain creator, right, for Naina. Then a visual map is a great gain creator because she is clearly saying, she has visibility that where she has reached and how much time she would probably take more to get there. Followed by a rating system. Now the rating system is a very good way to think about, kind of giving rating of the whole experience and so on and so forth. And finally, saving time, then reaching quickly there and so on and so forth. So I hope kind of you get a gist of what I'm trying to do, right? And if you see that these words are very small words. These are not long words, visual map, rating system, call, fine. It should be like that. And it's our job to simplify it. That's why we write so complicated website copy, which we also don't understand if we read after a few days. Kya likh diya, right? So it starts with that kind of clarity on your ICP and value prop and so on and so forth. Also, I would like to bring one more nuance. Now I'm selling to Naina, who probably has gone to Harvard Business School, but often than not, we sell to some of the buyers who are not that educated. Educated not in terms of that complexity. So I sell to in the education industry, and often than not, these people like very simple, normal, easy to consume thing. Like it's very oxymoronish that they are in education and they have to be kind of educated with simplicity and not complexity. But you cannot articulate in a way that you think, because it's very complicated. You have to articulate in a way that they are able to understand, and that's what kind of you end up optimizing for. And you can keep on doing this exercise and rank them. So this is what I ended up doing. I start to rank them up, and finally I'm going to give this to my product manager that let's first solve for time, not safety. Let's solve for time first. We're not building a rating system. We are first initially building a safe time, and let's go ahead and solve for it. And again, we will keep on doing this exercise and so on and so forth. It's tag right with priority, save time, and instant booking are very, very important. And finally, this is how the final thing looks like. So calling a taxi, waiting a long time, and arriving on time are the aspects from the customer side. From your side, instant booking and saving time are the most important thing. And the product is a taxi smartphone app. So we will not build anything on the website. The first cut that will go will be a mobile app, primarily only on iOS, not on Android, because she must be definitely carrying an iPhone, right? So I will not hire an Android developer. I will hire a Kotlin developer who can also code in Android later. Sorry, I'm an engineer, so I probably speak from that sense, right? So I'll go ahead and hire that guy who can also replicate that code in iOS, and so I have an iOS app also, Android app also later, right? So you see what I'm trying to say? Your decisions of who you would hire over a period of time in the journey will kind of get dictated by also the customer in this case. Now, I act all wise and smart and tell you that I have not got this right, unfortunately. But now I'm again doing it, and I would also like to say that I think as founders, we have a very little gratitude towards investors, and often than not. And one of the things that investors do, right, they push you to do this because they know that if you don't do this, right, you will definitely fail, and unfortunately, you fail with their money, right? And they don't want to do that. So sometimes that push comes from externally to you, and I think it's a very good push, and that's why there's a huge respect for people who trust yourself with their money, that you go back and objectively do this exercise very, very sincerely. And even in our case, we already had named accounts, so we had a list of 220 accounts that we had won and lost. So we went ahead and we are currently doing this exercise. But it's a very meaningful pursuit to do and kind of undertake. So again, you just a summary to it. You kind of put the pain, put the gains, rank them order, do it, and then do your product services kind of later on. And just skip this slide. Yeah. So now let's look this very interestingly. So some of the things that we said that we will not do, for example. So we will not solve for fair price. So we will not do price kind of allocation, deallocation. We say that we will not solve for safety. So this is what I have said I will not do right now, which is very important to be done, but I will not do now, right? So I will not do a visual map. So my first cut of app will not have a map, because for me the most important thing is Naina reaches on time, right? So quickly getting her that cab is very, very important for us. So I will not build that, and that's how I'll convince my product manager or engineer also that you do not build that, because he will give me an estimate of 8 months, right? I have a cash of 3 months. That's what I'm telling them. I have a cash of 1 month. I know that, right? So what you're telling, what you're saying is all different, right? So that's how you have that conversation with your people in the team. That and because if you say to somebody, we want to build a app that books cabs, and you say that we are not building a cash system right now, he'll say you're crazy, and I will tell them I don't have money, Please understand, there's a difference, right? I can only do this much because my job is not to onboard multiple Nainas. My job is to understand that will Naina use my app against Uber or Ola? That's the answer that I want to get, right? Because with that answer and with that testimonial, I will then go to potentially Saurabh and say that, look, Saurabh, this is a $1 billion opportunity. Let's go and get these guys. And then Saurabh will say, probably yes. Mostly the answer is no, right? But sometimes the answer is yes also. So, yeah.
So, while this is really good feedback, the question around this is that the initial decisions that you're taking, the initial things that you are taking into consideration is creating an image of yours. It's creating a brand image. You're also building a brand around that. So, if you are building a brand that we are an unsafe taxi provider, but we are always arriving on time, it is going to be with you for quite a long amount of time, right? How do you, is this a project exercise, project engineering exercise you are doing, or it's a marketing exercise that you are doing? Marketing, you would be very rosy picture that you would be showing that we are doing all the things around it, but when you are doing a project management exercises or things like that, you are only considering those specific pieces of it. How do you divide, how do you balance all of these things together?
The honest answer is I don't know. But I'll tell you my thought, right? And the Box CEO Aaron Levy was asked a similar question, and I remember exactly how he answered. He said that a founder needs to be a student of technology shifts and market shifts. So you need to keep on looking at what is shifting in technology, what's shifting in market. I think what Uber did really well, they understood iPhone very, very well. That was a shift that was happening, right, from BlackBerry, and they understood that. Jack, the founder of Uber, he understood that very, very well. By the way, he was not an engineer; he was more of a sales guy, right? So he understood that shift. To give you an example, if I have to build a product for a customer today, I think AI and Gen AI will be a very integral part of my stack and my value prop, because this is how the future is going to unfold, and it's already unfolding, right? So I think it will start from the founder itself. That you really need to. So you need to think about three things, right? You need to think about your customer. You need to think about what's changing in technology and what's changing in the market, right? For example, I'll give you my example. So in education, right? Education is becoming, kind of very level playing field. So today I can go to Stanford, I can also go to Maven, I can also go to Coursera Udacity, or I could even go to Code Academy and do a programming course on the Gold side. So learning programming is becoming very democratized. It's not that you go to IT Bombay or you go to Stanford and you become a good engineer. I can go and do a course on Maven. By the way, it's expensive with Maven also. It's around $3,000. But you pay and you can become better at it. Or you probably don't go to a B school, but you go to a STOA school or GrowthX, and you become a good marketer there. And in just 6 months you can come out with a good market and you get placed good companies, right? So the level plate is, that's how the market is moving. On the technology side, right? Education guys never used to buy software. They will just use an ERP. But post-COVID, the propensity to buy more software is fundamentally increasing a lot. Okay, so that's the market changing, that's the tech changing, and finally, our users who we used to sell to education in this case, right? The buyers have also changed. You know why the buyers have changed? The buyers are not those grey old men who don't understand tech. These are the sales and marketing guys who work in Baiju, Upgrad, Unacademy. But they are coming here only, right? So our buyer has also changed. Are you getting what I'm saying, right? So you need to ask this question that in your industry, what's changing in tech, what's changing in market, and what's changing in your buyer persona. And I think the only way to do that is talking to other founders and reading very, very regularly. I know it sounds so cliched, but something that me and Tanmay shared, that reading is very, very important. Educate and read a lot as much as you can read about things. So that's how you know shifts, and you can kind of bring that abstract at a very normal level to your own company. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it does answer the question, but I also connected question over here. So when you are saying that arriving on time should be your utmost priority, right? Now the dilemma sometimes happens that mostly in SaaS when we are going vertical or horizontal, right?
Yeah.
Will your value proposition always be on time? You would always go deep down into figuring out that time is my best proposition, that I would always do something, or will you be going horizontally? Initially your value proposition will be that you will be going horizontally. The decision that you are taking, that time should be the most valuable thing, should be in the first way, or should evaluate with
I think you have to start somewhere deep first, and then you move, kind of horizontally if you want to. And the answer to that question, the answer to the question is how much resources and time you have. So this is not a theoretical question. This is more of an existential question. I only have 3 months of money, right? And after that, I have to do something. So I have to start something which will help me get a meeting or help me. So I gave you a consumer example, but you're asking a B2B question. So for me, the answer to your question is that what will I get a meeting when I send a deck? Will I get a second meeting when I have to go on a Zoom call? Will he invite me to talk to me about few things, right? So I will kind of optimize for what narrative is helping me to get another meeting. And that will come from customer interviews that this SAP or Oracle is not able to solve that for me. That's why you need the tactics for AR, and that can also be integrated with that particular thing. I'll give you a very quick way to think about it, but let me ask yourself how I'm doing on time. I'm done on time, 5 minutes. So just 5 minutes, I'll just kind of stop, right? I think whenever you need to do this exercise, there are some forces that are acting, right? So there is an attractiveness of your product, and there is some kind of pull towards your product, but there is also push towards kind of incumbency and also existing behavior. So what you need to do is that you need to look at existing behavior and incumbency and identify what will help them to move. So that should be written in this, right? And that comes from a problem that they have with a current solution. We can talk more about it. I'll just complete it quickly. I think I'm almost done. So again, this is all slides. So this is trying to tell you guys, you have to keep adjusting and redesigning, and you need to do this exercise every quarterly on a regular basis. And yeah, and over a period of time, maybe after 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, and iteration, you may come across, you remember that customer that we wanted to fall in love with, right? So there is a possibility that you can get there. The possibility is remote. Remote not because it's remote. Remote is because of our own actions. So I hope you kind of all get here, right? And with that, I think I'll just skip that. So there are some articles that I have given you, which I think are useful read for value prop canvas. So I can probably share the deck. And I think I thought of sharing this, that I think it's very important to build a company that works backwards. Imagine that you're already successful and think backwards to it. So it's a very good way of thinking about. So what Kumar and me talked about today, right, is basically that we have to start working backwards, and the backwards starts with the customer and from that perspective, and and then from you get to customer problems and get faster to product market fit. Somebody said that talk about product market fit, right? I think there is no recipe of product market fit. I think product market fit is more like you know when it's happening. That's the definition I've got from people. You will know when it's not happening, and we'll know when it's happening. That's the answer of what product market fit looks like. But this is a sure shot way of getting there, right? Often than not, we are not there. But if we do this clinically very, very well, do the ICP, do the value, and kind of look at our business very objectively, I think there is a greater probability that we will not fail, and we will be able to get to product market fit. So yeah. Yeah. So Tanmay's question is that once you have done this, how do you validate the fastest? I think there are few ways. Maybe Kumar can share some experience. I think if you already have paid customers, then you always need to have some champion customers who are ready to experiment a bit with you, right? So in our case, I'll also name. So there's a customer in Bombay. They are the biggest nutrition and fitness training institute in India called K11 Academy of Fitness Sciences. So if you go to any gym, the gym trainer is from K11. So K11 has been that customer for us, whenever we have a thought. So for example, you're doing something in GenAI, right? So we talk to them and they're ready to experiment. Okay, and they're at times even ready to pay for it. So you need to find some existing customers that you have who are also highly competing in their category, who wants to have some competitive advantage in their sales marketing process in our case. So pick that customer who does not have incumbency, who are also like shaking and so on and so forth, if you have the liberty of having a customer. If you don't have a liberty of having a customer, then I think a very good way is having multiple customer interviews and doing what we call, so I learned it from a SaaS model, doing what we call paid pilots. So we try to start with free trials. Somehow I hate this, but I'm more of a mid-market person. In SMB, you have to do that. But can they agree to a paid pilot? and they agreeing to pay you is a very good metric of that validation and that exercise with that deck or MVP or a Figma or Sketch thing that you are showing them is very good. So recently we are building a very new category product in a thing, and my designer has done a very Figma kind of thing. When she was showing me, I thought it was a HTML CSS React backup, but later on she paused the escape button. It was a Figma thing because there were hotspots built so beautifully over it that I did not even think that this is possible. So yeah. So I think these will be my two thoughts, but maybe Kumar can also add some things to it. Yeah.
How do you measure this point?
How do you execute it after this once you have done that? So
like, how do you execute the whole plan?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah. There are multiple ways to do this. Okay, number one, so what we do, okay, whenever some customer come back and says, I need this specific, and it's going to be one of the critical buying criteria. Okay, we will wait. First thing is, can we validate with some other customers? Okay, that's the first question me and Anand and G from the engineering will ask each other. Can we validate it? We don't jump. We don't commit immediately. We say we are a product. We will look if it fits into our roadmap. We will tell you when it will come. We cannot commit to you now. Okay, that's the first statement we make to our client. Second, we go back and actually validate. Okay, Anand, who leads customer success in our side, all the existing customers. Okay, we start going and his job is to get that validation, yes or no. That's the second. From sales point of view, myself and my salesperson, we already have in our CRM. We keep a note which customer, or whenever there is a discussion happening, we have a Google sheet. We keep adding that. This customer requires this. This customer requires this. And as we are doing demo, we start saying, what if is this the pain point for you, and what if this is brought in? Once this collective 360-degree input comes, then we take a call, yes or no. Okay. And then even within that we say how stickier it is. Okay, initially we made our mistakes. We made some features, we thought they were useful, but they're great selling tools when we build them. But we know no one uses it. It has happened with us. It still happens. Okay, but now it's much lesser. Now what we are saying is, okay, if some laundry list is there, like some features and deprioritization, you put something just like a placeholder. So I have this point to which always I tell to our engineering and say, abhi chota bana do, we will revisit later. So there is not much of effort. So I ask a simple question: is it a 1 day effort? Is it a 1 month effort? If it's a 1 month effort, I'm going to take a step back. If it's a 1 day effort, I'll say, okay, then consensus. Like ours is a very democratic decision making process. It takes time, but then will this make sense? So that's how. So we build a framework. Okay. So this is one way to validate it. The second way to validate is, what if this is not there? Is this really a deal breaker? Okay. So we ask them upfront. And if it's a deal breaker, what if we commit that it is going to come to you 3 months down the line? So we try and push as much as we can. 3 months, 2 months, 5 months. So we see their hunger for that. That's just manageable. We can wait for 5 months. Then we know it's for them is also good to have. But they'll chase you. Okay, that you have committed me this, because that's how organization it's documented. But then what we do is, how much of that feature you want to make it big? Is it, you can make a light feature, you can even make a big feature. So we now know it's just give him something very basic, because we are startups. We want to move forward. We want to, the quickest way we can deliver, in a cleaner way. That's the way. That's what we want. We want to move on. Right? Speed is essence in our business. Right? We don't want to waste time. But again, I said engineering becomes the most valuable resource in the organization. So how much time it's going to suck in, and whether this is going to be a dead feature. If it's a dead feature and to remove it, it takes time consuming. Okay. Third, will you pay more? Okay, so that's another very important aspect. Whenever you're building any feature and it's not fitting into your product strategy, will you pay more? Okay, but we are not going to be developer. Pay more also with the same hypothesis, like logic. It has to get validated by others. Will they be willing to pay more premium? Okay, so like your start, this will allow you to. So we have this fundamental in our product. We are not there yet, but we have this fundamental construct built into a product. You want this feature, you'll say there is this like upgrade, buy. Talk to your admin. So we already added that now. So now we know that which customer wants it, and we can figure it out. So I'm not getting this, can you do it? Okay, fine. But this is like a little high-end feature. We can enable it for you, but it's going to cost you more. Like some features we have not, so we've now started going that direction. Okay, so you can build your own layer of validation, okay, but got to be practical and then allow you to move with the speed, but without hogging too much of your engineering bandwidth.
Kumar gave you a very McKinsey consultant answer, which is true, right? I'll give you by selling in India. So we sell in India, right? Fortunately, unfortunately. One of the things that comes to my mind is that so we were a CRM that we had to build marketing automation, but we have not built it out, right? So what I used to do, I used to refer them. Why don't you use Pardot or Marketo or Active Campaign? And we will integrate with that. And then I used to keep track that whether they bought that or not. Right? And I'll give you another example. We wanted to build something on WhatsApp, which is now a very core part of our product. So I gave them a reference of Hero.ai and Haptic and say you buy them and we integrate with them. And they've gone ahead and bought that. Right? So when I build it out, right, I have to just replace that and take it in. So one of the kind of what would you say proxy for understanding the intent, because your question is more that we have not built it out yet, right? And the customer will not believe you when you say that because you're a startup founder and nobody knows you, nobody cares about you. So one of the good ways is to have proxies of that. Is enough ये ले लो, हम integrate कर देंगे, and then see whether he bought that or not. And anyways, your integration will do a shitty job in the first place, right? Then you will say that, sir, probably you use it here only now, why you're integrating, and probably undercut on the price and get it done. So now this comes to me because you asked that question, but I have seen that happening in our company 3 or 4 times, that we have built on those kind of things by referring them and being a proxy of propensity to pay.
And another important is that you also need to learn to say no.
Yeah, very important.
It's very, very crucial. I know some customers have asked us, can you give us payable? So we give a very nice answer. I know someone is there in payable side. We give a very nice answer. So we have a framework is ready. Okay. Many customers are asking for it. No, but we're not prioritizing it now.
I think for me, you'll screw up and learn.
Right?
So Kumar probably is a serial entrepreneur. For me, you'll screw up 2-3 times. You will burn a 200K hole in your, and then you will stare at your MIs. How do I even send it? Then you'll realize that I need to start saying no over a period of time. So I think you not.
Some customers have asked us, will you give us now claim system? No. Can you do this? We said no. So if you have a roadmap ready, then it fits in. As I said, if you have that early majority market view ready with you, and this fits into that, you keep validating with that market. You're building something, but you keep validating. Your validation got to be that bigger part. It's making sense. Then you know you're going in the right direction, and it's relevant. If it's not, then you'll end up building something very different. That market is not required. Then when you reach that stage, you end up putting all the engineering effort again, and you will delay about it. We are just having a side conversation right now outside. We need to know when you are ready for scale. And all the things that you're building, whether it's creating great value, as a founder, you get that gut answer. Yeah. Me and Abhi, we were having a chat other day. I said, you need to know your point of takeoff, okay, and your point of landing. As founders, it's very important to know how your takeoff situation is. Okay, your runway, whether it's smooth, whether you have enough things done, or all that stuff. If you don't know yourself, your point of takeoff, how will you know whether you will really land there or not?
When Kumar told me that I was about building that, I only know how to crash. Most of the times.
So sometimes it's like you trust your guts, but you learn to verify it. Because as founder, we work a lot on our gut. It all starts with hypothesis, but we need to learn to verify. It's like what they call is an informed decision, taking informed decisions.
And also, one thing before I wrap up, your wrap up is that when you pitch to an investor, right, they really appreciate a founder who really understands his ICP and VPC very well, right? Because often than not, the investor will not know about your market. Only an analyst will guide him, and they are doing more of a secondary and tertiary research. They will look up to you that how deep understanding or deep understanding backed by data, not by just your gut, is what you have. And I think that really builds that confidence in the minds of the investors also when you're pitching and raising the seed or pre-series or Series A and whatnot, right? So with every round, this needs to get deeper. That you could be a thought leader, like Sujit spoke about that. You are perceived as a thought leader over a period of time. So this exercise will also help you maybe in sharper pitches because this question will be asked. 3 questions will be asked: who's your customer? How you are better than the incumbents? Why will they pay you? Right? These 3 questions probably originate from this exercise. Just wanted to highlight that. So thank you very much for your patience.
I kind of started feeling that as soon as it started hitting 2 o'clock in the watch, for Kumar and Abhi, the ICP, which is today's audience, is the pain point of learning was kind of shifting towards being hungry customers. so we have to respect time and kind of move on. But I know that Abhi and Kumar are great resources to be in Pune. I really value their clarity, their articulation, but also honesty. And I think we should leverage the kind of talent that is here in Pune. And I would, this session is not just to kind of get one-way inputs, but also encourage all the founders to kind of meet these guys in person and keep the dialogue open. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Few housekeeping things. One is that we have lunch on the ground floor, so we can head there. Second is that I've been informed that for the valet parking, if you guys can just tell that you came for the event with iMocha, there is not going to be any kind of charges for parking, so it will extend your runway by 1 month. And yeah, I think we just have to take a group photo at the end of this session. In the meantime, we just kind of